Hey everybody, this is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottom Farmstead, live with another fireside chat. I'm down here in the corner of my property today, down here what I call the swamp. Y'all have heard me mention that swamp. Well, this year it ain't got no water in it right now. And of course, there goes sister getting right in the camera. But I got somebody here with me today that's wanting to share his encounter, his experience. I really appreciate him trusting me to do it and giving me the honor to let him tell it on my channel. So I really appreciate that. And we're not gonna give out the exact location where all this was, just because he still lives right in there. And so y'all be with, bear with us, and I'll let him start here in just a minute. And if everybody knows that Miss Christy Leslie passed away this week, so y'all keep her family in prayer, and of course everybody else that we named off in the live last night. A lot of folks, a lot of sickness going on, a lot of health problems, and a lot of other problems, so we always need to be in prayer for everybody. So I'm gonna sit down and we'll get this started. And all right, sister, you gonna come up here? Okay. So I really appreciate you being willing to share your encounter and your experience with me, and you've been a fellow Alabamian. That's the ones I like to hear from first. I like to hear from the Alabama folks, just to show that these things live everywhere in this state. I think they're in every county. And I know that this encounter caught you off surprise and made you start so looking into this subject more. So I'll go ahead and let you get started, and you can tell a little bit about yourself, but don't give away nothing you don't need to give away. And you know what I'm saying. You know what you can talk about and what not to talk about. So you go ahead and get started, and we'll I will be keeping an eye on that camera, because I got to keep eye on that little red thing up there that says it's recording. So right. So if you see me keep looking up there, I'm watching, make sure that thing's still going. So I have had them turn off on me before, so don't know why, but I have. So well, you go ahead and just
well, I'd like to start off by saying how much I appreciate you and your channel, and the other channels like Woodwalkers and such that, giving people an opportunity to tell their story or tell about their experiences.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And someplace where you can a person can feel comfortable doing it.
Right. Right. And I'm glad that you feel comfortable doing it with us, and Woodwalkers the same, and Miss V, and all of them, Chris Reinhardt and Old Line Cryptids. That's one thing I like about all the channels, is they give everybody a chance to talk. So
well, this give a little bit of my background. I don't mind telling close to where I grew up, you know. But I grew up in Blount County, and I still live in Blount County. And I believe that I had not visual experiences up until the 21st of January of 2022, but hearing the noises in the woods when I'd be out deer hunting. And I think, well, maybe it's just an acorn falling, or it was a dead tree that fell. But after listening to the encounters of other folks, it's made me wonder, well, maybe that might have been what I was hearing.
Right.
And but on January 21st of 2022, my son and I had gotten up. I was going to take him to the doctor, and or ride with him to the doctor. And I told him before we left, I said, "Son, now the deer will probably be moving pretty heavy, so drive real slow, because the road that we live on was covered up with deer."
Right.
And they were, out to run out in front of you at any time.
Right.
But we were riding along there, and we had gotten no more than about a half mile from our house. And I got to seeing something on the left-hand side of the road. I noticed it was reflecting light pretty heavy. Well, as we got up closer, I got to making out a shoulder. And it was white, kind of a white and grayish color, or a dirty white color. And we got on up closer, and I got to making out more of the shoulder and the body. Then we got right in even with it, and I could see everything from its waist up. And like I was saying, it was a kind of a grayish white in color. If I had to guess in the height, had to be between 8 and 10 feet.
He's a big one.
It was big. But I don't know, I guess it was probably 60 to 70 yards away, so I could be off on the height.
Right. Right.
But it was just standing there looking. And I guess the thing that stands out about it the most, other than its size, was it looked like it just had two big black holes where its eyes were supposed to be.
So you couldn't really see a face?
Well, I could see the whole face, but the eyes were black. And it just looked like two big black holes where its eyes were supposed to be.
Okay.
And it had its mouth. I could tell its mouth was partially open, but I couldn't see any teeth.
Right.
So I couldn't tell you if they were blocked off like, a horse, or if it had canines.
That's a good 67 yards, a good piece too, to tell about that. So, yeah.
But, it was a short encounter. It seemed like it was a lifetime, but it couldn't have been no more than 10 or 15 seconds.
Yeah. Well, that's what most of them are with most people. Now, this is right there close to where you live. Can you describe what the land is like right there? Is it real hilly, pasture land, woods?
Well, where it was standing was, at one time it was a pasture, but a lot of the privet bushes and cedars and stuff like that had grown up in it.
Okay.
And it was, its lower half of its body was covered up by cedar trees, or small cedar trees. And to be honest with you, it looked like it had a surprised look on its face, like it was just as surprised to see us as I was to see it.
Okay. I wonder if he may not have heard you coming.
I don't know. My son drives an F-250, and that is pretty loud. Yeah.
Well, so I know it was a short encounter, and he was grayish white, and his eyes had the black looking sockets, which, looking from that good piece, it'd probably look that way. Now, was the day sunny or was it cloudy or was it
No, it was very sunny.
very sunny? Okay.
And the sun had just come up over the mountaintops
Okay.
and was shining down in the area.
Okay.
And I started to tell my son to stop and turn around and go back. Excuse me. But there was just something inside here in my heart, not in my mind. It wasn't mind speak or anything like that. It was just something inside my heart just told me, no, leave
No.
this one alone.
Leave this alone. Yeah.
And so I didn't tell him. And I don't recall us talking all the way down to his doctor's appointment and most of the way back. And he asked me, Daddy, why are you so quiet? So I just come out and told him. And he said, well, why didn't you tell me to stop? And I told him, I said, because I just felt like I needed to leave it alone.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, when I first saw it, I wasn't afraid. I was shocked and surprised. The actual fear didn't set in until later on when I got to thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, here it is. I grew up in this area and I hunted these woods all around here and these things are in these woods.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of way when I found out there was on Creepy Mountain, I went to thinking about. And many times I've been in the woods at night with no lights on, walking and coon hunting and everything. You know, telling what you walk by. You know,
And I mean,
so almost sound like you seen what everybody calls the Alabama white thing.
well,
I mean, because they say it's a white color, grayish, and I seen something here that had a grayish tint to it, and even what Mr. Terry seen down in Lowndes County. That's one thing that struck me was he said it had a grayish, like a pair of man with a pair of gray coveralls on, but what I've told people, but the lady through the woods right here, about a half a mile right through there, the one she seen when it turned and looked at her in the face, she said its face was white.
Yeah.
And she said it was, that's what she emphasized, was the face. She emphasized that more than she did anything. So
well, I don't know if his face, the actual color of its skin was white, or if it was covered up completely with hair.
Right.
But I know what I saw was, the grayish white or whitish gray, whatever you want to say. It was more white than gray.
Right.
And its chest was the same way. Arms, it's from the waist up was, the grayish white.
Right. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And but I just, like I say, the thing that stood out the most, though, or that I keep picturing the most, was just the black eyes.
Right.
And you heard people talk about on these shark shows, talking about how the shark looks like it has a dead eyes.
Right.
That's what this reminded me of. Just solid black. I don't know. I'm not going to say that they're evil, but this struck me as evil.
Okay. Well, we don't know what that thing was thinking at the time. And what he'd been up to. Now, has there been any more reports right in there around where you live at?
I haven't heard any more. But now, my whole family on my mother's side grew up in that area.
Right.
And my granddaddy always talked about the boogers.
Right.
And this is, the same thing that most
of us are calling
from the South.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
But he said, I don't want any of you kids outside after dark. Well, why, Papa? Because boogers get you. Well, first thing out of my grandmother's mouth or my mother's mouth was, don't tell them that. You're going to have those kids scared to death. Well, they need to be scared.
Yeah.
That's what he would say.
So he had probably seen one, I bet.
I'm pretty sure that he's had more than one experience.
Right.
Just by the way he would talk.
Well, I know that Blount County and northern Jefferson County and Walker County are all through there, and on up to Coleman and all up through there had tons of reports. And some of them have been the whitish color, the whitish gray. Then some of them's been the black ones and brown ones, but and some even with the reddish tint. I know that Mr. Towle went to Blount County several times to some property, which it was right on the Coleman Blount County line where he was at. So it was, but I mean, you go to looking at the water sources that you have, and I know there's probably some water sources right there where that siding was, wasn't it?
There's a lot of springs up there.
A lot of springs, okay.
But there's two large creeks that they kind of make a Y around this property where I saw this Bigfoot. I'm just going to call what I believe
what
it was.
You saw, yeah.
But they kind of makes a Y around this property. So yeah, there's a lot of water. There's also an old abandoned mine in that area, a coal mine in that area.
Okay, all right.
So caves.
Caves.
It's got plenty of places, to.
Real hilly land.
Yeah,
Real
very.
A lot of deep pollers.
Oh yeah.
Most of the wood, sister. No, he don't want to. He don't want you up in his lap right now. Sister. Most of the wood's still there, prominently hardwoods.
Yeah, there's some plantation pines in the area.
Okay.
But
most of it is hardwood.
Most of it's hardwood, yeah.
Okay. What about any chicken houses or small homesteads close by, like people's raising chickens or goats?
Yeah, there's a few. They got yard birds. They don't have chicken houses. The closest chicken houses would probably be 5 miles from that area.
Okay, all right. And your wildlife's real plentiful there too. Deer, turkeys, squirrel, coon, fox, all that stuff.
Yeah,
very plentiful.
Pretty much anything a person would want to hunt is there.
Okay. Most of the hardwoods are going to be similar like this here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of white oak, a lot of red oak, hickory trees.
There's a lot of people still growing small gardens in your area.
Yeah, pretty much everybody around there, grows their own food.
Okay.
Always have since I was, a little kid. I mean, that's.
Have you heard of anybody's like livestock going missing, or dogs or cats? Have you heard anything of that nature?
Dogs and cats, yeah. Not so much their livestock, but they're most people around there that's got livestock, they keep a real close eye on them, and they always go on. So.
Right. Is Lord, I forgot my train of thought a minute. Was some of the dogs and cats going missing during this time period when you seen that? Or is this just sporadic stuff missing?
It's sporadic.
Okay.
Mainly during the winter time, though, when it's colder. During the summer, I never really heard of any.
That's interesting.
Any animals going, missing like that. But during the winter.
Huh.
But now that could be too.
Hunters taking them out.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because they get out there running deer. And
right. Yeah, is there a lot of hunting clubs right around you?
There are. There's 3 within a 2-mile radius.
Okay, and then everybody else probably hunts their own property in that area. Now this property wasn't on your property. It's on a neighbor's property. That
Yeah, it's actually it belonged to it belongs to the son of a friend of mine that I went to school with. My friend's passed away now, and his son inherited the property.
Okay.
And if my friend was still alive, I could go out there anytime I wanted to.
Okay.
But his son really don't know me,
Okay.
and he won't
Let you go out there.
Won't let anybody, won't let anybody but family go out there.
Okay. Well, it's I know just north of there, you got them. Well, probably south of you too. North of you, you got a river, and south of you, you got a river. And they both run into a bigger river or form a bigger river. And I know not too far in there is a big lake. I know. I think that's where city of Birmingham gets some of their water. I think.
Yeah, that would be inland lake.
Yeah, I think they get some of their water. I've heard there's stuff around it, and of course, Jonathan Odom used to go up in there some to around a place called Margaret.
Yeah.
Which ain't too far through there, and back over toward Aniana, he said had a lot of bookers in there. There's one other place up in there. I know you get over back toward Asheville, and then there's a lot of reports off at mountains in there that so I could, having them rivers, a lot of water, a lot of wildlife, and and already knowing there's reports from all that area in there, because the white thing is primarily in the Jefferson, Blount, Etowah, part of St. Clair. Sister, get away from that. Coleman, Winston, Walker. It's kind of that radius in there where that really talked about a lot. And I mean, that's almost what you're describing is a white looking Bigfoot. And if y'all had been probably a minute or two earlier, a minute two later, you probably wouldn't have seen him.
Probably wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah. And that's wild that he shined. I guess the sun was on.
I think it's the sun reflecting on his reflecting,
and it being white. It'd be noticeable though, because I mean, white is not a typical color you see in the woods. I mean, every now and then a tree have a little white on it or something, but I mean, I see some here on a few of them trees, little white patches, but there's not nothing big that would shine, and I can see where that would stand out, especially in our woods. I mean, but also I could see that as camouflage in dark spots. He could get down in dark spots and he'd blend in with timber, especially in the wintertime. And
I don't know, I've kind of wondered if maybe it was just old, and maybe their hair turns gray like ours does.
Possibility. I mean, it's possibility.
I mean,
I mean, that when whatever I seen in this hedgerow right back up there that day, all the way from the house, which is way over 200 yards, he had a white look to it. I mean, it had, that's why I seen it. I mean, I picked the white up quick, but what got me was the tree limb kept shaking after me and Rebecca got to looking at it, because I called her out, and she could see the tree limb. Of course, it was springtime when I seen that. There was full foliage out here. And we'll go back to him a minute since we was talking about him being. Sorry about that, everybody. Whew. Allergies done got stirred up, and I done got congestion going. Oh, yeah. On his head, did he have a comb look to it, or did he have like a big boxy head, or was it just kind of like ours? Which I know, looking at that far off, it's hard to say. I know, but
it looked more rounded. I made a sketch of it and was going to give it to you, and I run off and left it up in my truck.
Okay. Well, you can. Well, I'm sorry. We can. We can take a picture of it, and then I can
Yeah.
put it in the video or something.
But its head was more rounded than cone shaped.
Okay.
Now, it may have just been his hair that made it look rounded.
Right.
I don't,
right.
because
on his hair, did it look long, or was it short looking, or was it hard to say?
well, if I had to guess, it probably between 4 and 6 inches long.
Okay.
So because he was pretty shaggy.
Right. Okay.
So, but
well, how'd that make you feel after you seen that? What started going through your mind, and how'd you feel after witnessing something that ain't supposed to exist?
well, like I said earlier, I mean, to start with, there was no fear there.
Right. Right.
It was just kind of shock and surprise. And then as I thought about it more, then the fear started setting in.
Right.
And it wasn't for the fear of the particular at that moment, or of that particular moment, but it was the fear that come over me thinking back, of all the years that I had been hunting around
And
that
heard
area.
things. Right.
And I would go, I mean, I've been hunting by myself, Mark, since I was a little kid.
Right.
And when I'd go into the woods, I wasn't thinking about something like that. I knew that there were bobcats, and I knew that there were, coyotes and stuff like that. But something that size, that never really crossed my mind.
Right. And it's hard to believe they can move around in the woods big as they are,
Yeah.
but they can.
But, I'd go in the woods, squirrel hunting or rabbit hunting or something like that. And until I got on up older and started, deer hunting. And that thought never crossed my mind.
Right. Is there anything in your past? I know you said you heard some stuff, and is there anything that stands out in your past that you might be related to that?
Yeah, and I wasn't deer hunting then, but me and one of my cousins was walking home from the bus stop in the afternoon. We just got off school bus, and we got almost to our houses. We were all raised up in this one area,
Right.
and our little sisters was outside playing. And I said, well, let's stop right here, and I'm going to try and scream like a cat and see if we can scare the girls. Well, my cousin, she kind of giggled and said, yeah, let's do that. So I screamed as best I could to sound like,
Right.
A cat. And something answered me back. And it wasn't no high-pitched scream either. It was deep, guttural scream. And we looked at each other like, we might ought to go and get in the house.
Right.
So we took off running. And here, a few days ago, I saw her. And I asked her, I said, do you remember that time? And was talking about it. She said, yeah, I do. And she said, I still think about that a lot.
Now, does she know you seen something?
No, I haven't told her.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the only ones in my family that I have told are my 3 boys, my wife, and one of my good friends.
Well, all them's been supportive of it, hadn't they?
Well, my friend, he kind of looked at me like, oh, you kidding me, man. And I looked him dead in the eyes and said, no, sir. I'm not going to make crap like this up.
Right.
If I saw it, I saw it. And I'm not going to tell you a lie about it. Are you sure that's what it was? Well, yeah, I'm pretty much positive that's what it was. And he said, well, I guess I'll have to be more careful about, when I go out deer hunting and stuff.
Right.
And
Well, we're not trained to look for stuff like that. We're training. We're looking for deer. We're looking for whatever we're hunting, and most, before I realized really what was in the woods, I had a sneaky feeling something was out there, but I didn't think about it really being that. And then, of course, when you first see your first one, I always tell everybody you come to reality.
yeah,
You figure out real quick that science and history has been telling some fibs. I mean, and even probably the church. I hate to say it that way, but you find out real quick that everything ain't being told. And of course, first thing that they want to do to you, like they did to me, and like you had some, your kin or some of your closest friends will be the ones that ridicule you real quick. But I've done figured out a lot of that is just because they're scared too.
Yeah.
Because they're going like, man, one of my good friends, he never believed in them, but he did tell me this. He said, I know you're seeing something, Mark. He said, because you wouldn't be bringing it up if you wasn't seeing it. But he said, I don't think that's what you're seeing. Now, he thought I was seeing maybe demons manifesting themselves or something. I said, nah, I said, some of this is flesh, so.
Well, I believe the Bigfoot, I believe they're flesh and blood. Because despite what all these, to quote Jerry Tyre, these folks, educated folks, are educated beyond their, what does it say? Beyond their intelligence.
Right.
But I don't see any reason why there can't be a North American great ape.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to say they don't exist. I'm going to say I hope they don't exist. And as far as the dogman's concerned,
Right.
I believe that's demonic.
Yes.
That's, I may be wrong, but just what I feel in my heart, I just feel that's demonic.
Right.
But
excuse me.
Fortunately, I've never seen one of those.
Yeah, I hope I don't either. I hope I don't ever see one either. That's one road I don't really want to go down, but sometimes I wonder though if that's what I've dealt with before in the past and just didn't realize that's what I was dealing with. But on a few different occasions, but with it was just different, weird, different, felt different with it. But
now I've been out and I've heard some deep howls, a lot deeper than what a coyote can make.
Is this around where you live?
That's around where I live. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that could have been Bigfoot.
Right.
But it's
well, after you seen that, did you start experiencing anything at your home?
No.
Didn't notice nothing out of the ordinary.
No, just a lot of sleepless nights.
A lot of sleepless nights.
Well, now things that I experienced around the house, I experienced them before I had my sighting.
And this is more paranormal?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's more going back to the times that we're in. I believe you're going to start seeing more of that.
I agree. I think there's a lot more spiritual warfare going on right now. And just all around us, we just not see it. Well, we're seeing it. If you know what to look for, you'll see it. You see it in people, you see it in industry, you see it in government, you see it everywhere. But so the paranormal, because I hate to say it, and you've done heard this enough, they usually end up going together. Usually some people see a Bigfoot and then start having paranormal. Some people start having paranormal and then later on they see a Bigfoot or unidentified flying object or orbs. They start having other weird things happening. Have you ever seen a UFO or what you thought was a UFO?
Yeah, that was would have been back in 1980. I was 17, and it was a big orange ball, and it when I first saw it, I thought it was the sun, just getting ready to set.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it slowly moved from my left to the right, and when it got right in front of our house, it stopped and sat there and hovered. Now I sat there and I watched this thing for 15 minutes, and it never moved out of that one spot. And then finally I went and I got my rifle. I had a high power scope on it. Come back and looked at it through my scope. Well, right in the middle of it, it looked like it was spinning kind of clockwise.
That's interesting.
And I had talked to my wife about it, and she said, well, do you think that might have been a portal? Well, I don't know about portals, but
right.
It was flying, and I couldn't identify it, so I know it was a UFO.
That was there at your house?
That was, yeah.
Okay.
Not the house that we're living in now, but the house I grew up in.
The house you grew up in, okay. Is anybody living in your parents' house now?
No.
Okay. All right. Is it still standing?
No, it was a mobile home.
Okay.
And,
okay. But y'all still have the property it sit on?
No, that belonged to my granddaddy.
Okay.
And when he passed away, my uncle inherited the property.
Okay. All right.
But
well, on the paranormal, which that's paranormal kind of there too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of both ways. Which I mean, it is flying unidentified object.
Right, but when it finally did start to leave, it started heading off to the north, and I don't know, it probably 2 or 3 miles out away from me, and it turned blue. And when it turned blue, that was it. It was gone.
Wow.
So.
And you probably hadn't heard me say this, so I'm fixing to tell you. I've got a cousin. He's like a third or fourth cousin. He goes to the grist mill a lot in Chillisburg. And he come over here one day to get some rabbits from me and Rebecca. And he said, I want to talk to you a minute. Wasn't nobody else around. He said, I want to talk to you a minute. And he ain't going to mind me saying this because I'm not going to say his name or anything, but he said they were doing a little, down at the grist mill there for a while on Tuesday nights, they were doing music night. Just anybody come up there and play anything they wanted to play, as long as it wasn't nasty or, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they had people come and playing country, rock, gospel. Well, every night, on Tuesday night, they get done about 9:30, and he was one of the last ones to leave because he'd make sure everything cleaned up, locked up. And he turned out onto the road. And why I'm bringing this up, you're fixing to see why. He's heading back toward home. He lives about 6 miles north of the grist mill. And this road there's no houses on it hardly. It's mostly farmland and timber. He said all of a sudden in his rear view mirror is this big bright orange light. And he's like, he thought somebody done pulled out of the woods on him and got behind him. And he's going out through there, and he said, this is just right on him. He said the sucker's right on the tail of my car. He said, and he's starting to get ill because he thinks somebody's tailgating him, And if you know him, you know what I mean. He's one of them type to confront somebody quick, So he said, I start getting ready to slow down. I'm fixing, see what this dude's problem is. And he said, this light backs off real quick. And he said, something keeps telling me in my head, you ain't dealing with a car. And he said, something tells him, go on, go. So he goes on, and here it comes flying back up there behind him. Well, he gets up about to where he's got to turn on another road to go toward his house. And he said he comes to a stop and it's still back there. Well, right there where this old place is, old store building there now, they still got a store and they cut meat there. They sell meat and there's a post office there. He decided to pull off in there. And he pulled off and he watched this ball. He said it wasn't a car. He said he watched this ball come around to the side of the car. He was with his side, but it was out there 20, 30 feet from him. He said it was sitting there spinning inside. And he said he sit there and he tried to get his phone out. Of course, it zipped and was gone. Went back down the road like it came. He got out of the car and he said he couldn't see nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's where the weird stuff starts really happening. He starts having all this stuff show up at his house, and he's took pictures of it. Now he won't let me. I've asked him to put it out on video or show it to people. He said no. I mean, he's got all these orange and blue little orbs about this big just floating on his porch. These little stick-looking things flying through the air everywhere, and he said they come up there all the time. Cause he's got a Ring camera. And he puts some more cameras up. He catches them all the time. And I mean, he said he's even went out in the yard with them at night. And they'll just fly all around him. Then they'll all just disappear. And so when you said that, I said, So, and they just south of here, there's a place, no name the church, because it's out in the country. It's a real old church. They had a lot of vandalism down there, so that's one reason I don't want to name the name of the church. But that old road, it goes in there to it. They said that road, and I've been down there, but it ain't never happened to me, but I've heard countless people talk about a orange ball would follow them in their car. They go down and all of a sudden it just appear. It'd follow them so far, then it just disappear. And I've heard countless people bring that up before, because that's what they used to call it. They call it the Orange Ball Road. And I went down there before, sit at night. In fact, me and Rebecca and a paranormal group went down there to the church and to the cemetery, because they said they see these little balls all out in the cemetery all the time. But we didn't have nothing happen that night. Now I did hear a booger, or what I thought was a booger way off, holler out about 11 that night. And back in there toward a place that there's been some Bigfoot reports from, or people talking about seeing something like that. So what you just described is what some other people are describing. So I didn't know if I had told you that. I remember you telling me about the orange ball before, but that's been a good while back when we talked about that.
Yeah.
And but that was strange that day. My cousin come over here and I mean, he whooped out his phone, went to showing me all kind of stuff. I said, Lord have mercy. But he doesn't want to be on camera. He don't want to. He said no. He doesn't want to fool with it. He said, I don't want to get these things stirred up. Yeah. He said they come into the house. They're not bothering me. And as far as I want to go with it. And so what you just described is something that he's been describing too, and I've seen the pictures of it. So that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. As far as paranormal, other type paranormal stuff, have you seen like what I call the shadow people, or entities maybe moving around? Or
well, this didn't look like a person. But when I first saw it, I thought my eyes were just playing tricks on me. And this was at the house where we live now. But I thought it was, my eyes were playing tricks on me. And as a matter of fact, those were the very words out of my mouth when I saw it. And my wife said, "Why, did you see it too?" I said, yeah, describe what you just saw.
Right.
you describe it to me, and I'll tell you, yeah, if that's what I saw.
Right.
And she described it, and we saw the exact same thing.
Thing.
And
You know the history of the place you live at? Do you know the history of it or anything?
well, I know the house was built in 1977.
Okay.
I checked into it. There's never been anybody die there.
Okay.
Well, before I bought it.
Before
anyway.
you bought it, right.
My mother, unfortunately, she passed away there. When I took over her care,
Right, right.
she passed away there. But this happened when we first bought the house in 2014, and we anyway, we're standing out there on the front porch, and I saw this shadow come across the road, and it was floating, but it had arms, it had legs, but they were kind of wavy looking, and it had a head more like I don't know, almost like a deer. It was strange looking. It didn't it didn't look like other than the arms and the legs. That was the only part of it that looked like, was human.
Right.
Of course, now I know it's probably going to chop some people's hides by me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I take this from the Bible. To be absent of the body is to be present in the presence of the Lord.
That's true, yeah.
All right, so I don't believe that the human spirit can come back like that unless the Lord sends it back.
True.
He would be the only one to have power to do it.
Right.
So I believe things like that are demonic, because I believe demons will manifest themselves anywhere, at any time.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, angels usually don't manifest themselves unless it's to deliver a message from God, right?
Right, unless they're a fallen angel.
Okay, which is basically leads back to being a demon.
Right. Well, my understanding is what a demon is the disembodied soul of a Nephilim. Now, that's according to the book of Enoch and some other passages. It kind of points in that direction, that when God sent the flood to wipe out man and the half-breeds, because that's what I call them, they're half angel, half human, their punishment was to roam the earth till the judgment day.
All right.
And I'm not saying for you to believe, I'm just telling you what I've read, how I look at it. Now, the fallen angels, they're still just fallen angels. They're still in angel form. We know that the angels can come in human form because they did it with Lot when they came visited him before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. There was other times, but I think Lot knew they were angels.
Yeah.
I think they stand out. They stood out with the people there in Sodom and Gomorrah too. That's why they was wanting them. And why they was wanting them is because of that, where the angels had done bred with women and created these Nephilim, which is monsters or giants. A lot of people think that's what they were wanting to do. In other words, they was wanting to breed with them to get that, to have them half-breeds, So half-breed might not be a good word for it, but that's the word I use, because but that's my understanding of demons. They're the disembodied souls of the Nephilim, because they can't leave the earth. That's why I like when the guy in the graveyard come and run to Jesus, screaming and hollering, and then realized who he was, and said, Lord, why have you come this early? It ain't time yet. He asked him, what's your name? And they said, my name is Legion, which means many.
Yeah.
Well, and they asked him, put us, he's fixing to cast it out of that man. And they asked him, they said, well, put us in them swine, or pigs. And there's passage after passage in the Bible that points in that direction. I can't sit here and quote every one of them, but that goes down toward that. So, and what they're wanting to do, what I've read, and listening to other people that I have a lot of trust in, is they're looking for a host because they still have those earthly, what's the word for it? Earthly lust for food, for sex, for whatever. They still have that. And that's one reason they wanted to inhabit a body, is where they can act out. And I hope I've explained that well. I know some people would disagree with me on it, and that's fine. I mean, it's none of us know 100% fact, but some of the stuff I've read and listening to some other people and praying about it, that's the way but yeah, I kind of agree with you when we're seeing spirits and we're seeing things like that. I think they're leaning more toward the demonic side. I agree. Yeah, I had to stand up a minute. My back went to hurt. Yeah. So, well, I tell you, you had a good sighting, and you got to see a white one that a lot of people don't see. Most people are seeing, black ones and brown ones, especially in this most part of Alabama. And has it changed your thoughts about the woods now?
No, the only thing that has kept me out of the woods is, for one, I don't have, a really good place to hunt anymore, and two, with the problems that I've had with my back, because like I was telling you earlier, I've got rods in my back.
Right. So. And
if I got out there by myself and fell, then, I may be laying there for
a while.
So.
So I'm glad it hasn't got you to the point. I know a lot of people, when they see these things, they won't go in the woods no more.
Well, I'm not afraid to go in the woods because, I mean,
you've already been there with them.
Yeah, I've already been there with them.
So, I think if they was really wanting us that bad, don't get me wrong, I think there's some out there that would. I've heard too much that, yeah. And I've been around a couple of times when I felt like, hey, it was time to leave. It's like at Lost in Space where the robot says, danger, Will Robinson, and I'd be going, danger, Mark Green, danger, So it's like, your brain's telling you, hey, or your soul or your sixth sense or whatever that, we have was telling me, hey, it's time to go, and so what I appreciate you telling me all this, and if this could help somebody, that's what I was telling Mr. Terry. The more and more people come out, the more and more this gets attention to it. And when you have people that have it, I mean, you have nothing to gain or lose by, what I'm saying, you have nothing to gain or lose by this, by telling, but the thing that could happen is it could help somebody else come forward.
Yeah.
That has maybe seen the same thing you have or has same experiences, and that's why I'm glad that you let me do this, and I appreciate you letting me do it, and of course this will be a good encounter. It's most of them ain't but about 10 or 15 seconds. I mean, mine was probably the same amount of time. Mr. Terry got lucky, I think, or I ain't gonna say if he got lucky, I'm gonna say he got that and stood there a little longer, so gave him more time to pay attention. But most people, it's a glance and they're gone, or they're hid, and
well, if there's anything else that I could say, and let it be maybe a warning to other people, on my part, I said, I'd like to see one of these things. I hear all these people talk about, their sightings and their experiences and stuff. I would like to see one. Be careful of what you ask for.
Yeah.
Because it may not have the effect on you that you want it to.
You could have a bad effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's and like a gentleman that I used to listen to before he passed away, and I would call his name, but I'm afraid it might upset his widow if she listened to the podcast or anything. But it, in a way, I think it had a negative effect on him to start with, and then he started coping with it the best way he could by starting his own podcast. You probably know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
But I mean, what he said about how it affected him, it may affect other people worse.
Well, you think this has affected you negative or more positive? Or about the same?
I guess about the same. I mean, it hasn't made me afraid to go into the woods. Because, I mean, if it wasn't for my back and I had a decent place to go deer hunting, then, I'd be there every chance, every chance I got.
Right.
So, because I don't believe that they're going to mess with me. And if they did, and I had to use my firearm to defend myself, I would, but it probably wouldn't do any good.
Right.
So, and you can't go through your life, being afraid of things.
Right.
I can't let myself go through life being afraid of things like that.
Right. Right.
And it's just,
well, that's what I had to do. I had to make myself, hey, they're not going to run me out of the woods. That's the way I look at it, and I'm not gonna go intentionally try to hurt them or mess with them either. I mean, yeah, I did for a while. I'd go call them, and their mosquitoes are out. I'd go call them. And me and my buddy done a little feed station for a little while, feeding them and leaving them other things, and then when they showed up at the house, I said, hey, it's time to stop that, And for the time, I had little kids at home, and I said, they don't need to be coming up to my house, And but they come here with me and Rebecca now. Now, they ain't been here in a while. I don't know. I ain't heard nothing out of the ordinary in a while, and I don't know if it's because of that clear cut out there.
It probably is, because it took away a lot of their cover.
Yeah, and of course, you can see Creepy Mountain right yonder.
Yeah.
That's the North Ridge, what I call the Northeast Ridge. And so that's how close I am to it. So, but that smoke, boys, it's thick in there, whatever that is burning. Well, anything else you'd like to add or say or anything, or anything else you can think of that you'd like to tell about or
No, not that I can. Well, it was an encounter that my pawpaw told me about when he was a young man, and my mother and my aunts and uncles were all small children. He said he used to have something follow him home every night from work. He'd walk home from work, to and from work. And he said it, he always said it was a big cat. But the size that he described it, unless it was a tiger or something like that, it was too big to be a cat.
Right.
It would be from around our neck of the woods anyway.
Right.
He said it never tried to bother him, but it'd follow him home. When he'd get to his front porch and get ready to go in, he said it would scream, and then it'd do the same thing again the next night, but it never tried to hurt him.
That is.
But
That's there in that same neck of the woods?
It's right there, well, within a mile and a half of where I grew up.
Okay.
Because where my grandparents grew up, where my parents grew up, or my mother's side of the family anyway, and where I grew up is within a 5 or 6 mile radius.
Okay.
So, well, I mean, the whole family's lived right there in that area of Blount County, all of our lives.
Right. Well, like I said, I appreciate you sharing that, and look at that. Old Buck been rubbing that right there.
Yeah. Well, it looks like he's got him a scrape right there, right under that tree limb.
Yeah, sure is, ain't it? Yeah, sure is. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's probably that little young buck that's living here. I've been seeing him, little old, looks like about a 5 or 6 point. Then there's a nice one here. He pops up on camera every now and then, and he's living right in here somewhere. But yeah, I just happened to look down. The whole time we've been sitting here, and I happened to look, and I said, he's been rubbing that little tree right there. I thought I seen something right up there that looked kind of disturbed right yonder a little bit too.
Yeah, right there. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been making a little rub line down through here.
Well, as a matter of fact, unless you broke that limb off a while ago, that's a fresh break right there.
He probably did. I hadn't broke it. That's probably him. He's probably been running his antlers up in there.
Yeah.
And he's 2 or 3 hang out here. The does here produce bucks a lot. I've noticed I have a lot of spikes and knot heads on cameras too. So I guess these does here are throwing out a lot of bucks. But I've seen some big ones here. Old boy lives right up the road. So there's a big old nice 10 running around. He's got him on camera a bunch of times, but he said he comes through at midnight when he comes through. And but they run this wood line right here. They'll come out of my woods yonder. They'll come right up this wood line right here, and I guess they're going in here on my neighbor's property.
Yeah.
And if you go down there and go in behind his house right there, if you go down in there and go back, you can go all the way over to the railroad. Ain't nothing but woods through there. So, but let me show everybody this way a minute. If I can do this without dropping the camera. There we go. That way they can kind of, y'all can see that ridge up there. That's Creepy Mountain back in there. That's how close this place is to here. Well, I appreciate it. Me and you get off here and go get ready for later tonight, and I appreciate you giving a chance to let you tell this on my channel. And everybody, y'all give him some good comments on this, and let us know that you enjoyed what he was talking about and sharing his experience and all that. And if you don't mind, we'll do a little short prayer if it's okay with you.
Yeah, I like that.
Lord, thank you for everything you do for us each and every day, and thank you, Lord, for us being able to get on camera and talk about the experiences we've having in life, whatever it may be, Lord, and discussing different things. And thank you, Lord, for your Son and the Holy Spirit and everything that you do for us each and every day. And Lord, everybody that I mentioned in the live and that's having health issues and whatever else, Lord, be with them. And if it be thy will, heal them, Lord. And we ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All righty. Well, this is Mark from Cedar Creek Bottoms Farmstead Life. He said he had a drawing, so when we get back up toward the house, I may crank the camera back up for just a minute and film that. Then we'll put it with that. And but y'all go support everybody we support. Y'all know who they are, and love one another and get along, and check on the older people and people that shut-ins and all that. So, and if you hadn't talked to somebody in a while, call and talk to them, because I'm gonna tell you before you know it, they're gone. So anyway, we love y'all, and we'll holler at you later. Bye-bye. All right, y'all, this is the drawing that he was talking about, and he done a very good job. Y'all can see what he's talking about. The eyes look real black and the mouth being partially open, and yeah, it had kind of a more rounded head, so that's kind of what he was seeing that day. So that's a good drawing, though. That's a very good drawing. So that's what he's seen. So that's what a lot of people see, and that same thing might not be always a white one, but that's it. So all right, y'all, we'll talk with you later. Bye-bye.